Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want. My name is Molanzi Robert, the science communicator. I welcome you all. Thank you for watching us on Dream TV. For those of you who are, following us on our live streaming channel, we are glad that you as well following the program. This is the Uganda We Want, and the people we host in this program, as I normally tell you, they always air out their views on the kind of Uganda that they would like to see. And of course, there are issues that we think as a nation that needs to be dealt with so fast. And that's why we have this program right here on Dream TV. And today, we are privileged to discuss this kind of Uganda that you and I envision with the Executive Director for Africa Institute for Energy Governance, in brief, Afiego, Mr. Dickens Kamugisha. It's an honor and a privilege for me to have you on the show, The Uganda We Want. Could you please greet our viewers and those who are listening to us?
Yes, thank you very much for having me on this program. I'm happy to be here, and I want to send greetings to all the viewers and the people who are listening to us. Thank you very much for ensuring that Ugandans can get the right information and can learn on what the Uganda they need. Because the Uganda we need is actually the Uganda that we have to fight for, we have to work for.
Okay. Thank you so much. And just before you tell us who is Mr. Dickens Kamugisha, I just want to give you an opportunity in just a few seconds and greet us in your real language, not the second language.
Of course, nyondi munyankore owito nintungamo kandi niyo nashomire kwiza senior 6 nkije mu Kampala umuntu kuza kujoininga university konkani culture yitu ni kijemanye yo nyankore so nimbara musa mwe n'abaturikize mwe bari munonga kuturikiza kandi nimbashaba mukore namani turebeke nguyanga rye twaryombeka.
Well, thank you so much. When I go that side, someone told me when someone gives you something and you appreciate, then you can say wateka. So does it apply here, or it only applies on only cooking?
It applies when you have taken something inside.
Wateka.
Yeah, but of course, okuteka ninga kwebaza umuntu yakore kintu kachikunda. No yebaza. Obanemero banichi so
wateka.
Yes.
But I think this case I need to say twashemera. Well, I'm trying to learn. Well, yeah, please, could you let us know who is Mr. Dickens Kamugisha? If someone is just watching you for the first time and wants to know more about you, just brief us about you.
I think I'm a very simple person. I'm a lawyer by profession, but before that, I'm a farmer. And I was, my parents are farmers. And when I'm not here in Kampala, I'm in the garden.
Okay, a farmer who grows crops and rears animals, or only a farmer who does both?
Crops, animals.
And animals, okay, good.
And of course, like when we started the Afiego in 2005, I was already working with government as a state attorney under the Director of Public Prosecutions. So we started Afiego, specifically with some other colleagues of mine who were together at the university. And the objective was that we can actually work together and ensure we make a contribution in making Uganda a better place. Again, of course, I have been working with Afiego since 2005, but I also do legal practice. I have a law firm called the Company Advocates. So when I'm not working with Afiego, I'm in the law firm doing legal practice. I go to court. I provide a number of services. So in the other things that we do, of course, I have a family.
Okay.
I have a wife. I have 4 children. So in a way, that's what I am. But the bigger part is that I do things that promote common good.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, I just want to be sure
yeah.
that is the wife you have a woman?
of course, is a woman.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
You saw it was an elephant.
At times, we need to be clear on that question. If someone says, I have a wife, personally, I think we've got to say, I have a wife who is a woman.
Yeah, I haven't reached that level.
No, I'm not saying that
from where I come from, a wife means a woman.
means
Anyone who has a different interpretation, I must accept that is another interpretation.
Yeah. Where did you go for your kindergarten, primary, and secondary?
Of course, me, I didn't go to kindergarten. I didn't go to a nursery school. Oh. I started in primary school called the Nyachanga Primary School in Tungamu.
You were 10 years? Were you 10?
No, I was not 10.
Yeah.
Yes. I will not
Around 7 or 6.
I will not go into those details of 10 and what. But at least I was not very old. I was not very young.
Okay.
Yeah. But in our area, I don't think that time. Because I started my primary school in 1986. That's when I went to my first day to school. Was, I think, around 20th of January, 1986. So I completed my P7 at that same school, Nyachanga Primary School. I went to then Ruhanga Adventist School, Secondary School. I didn't finish from there my senior 4. I went to Ntungamo High School, where I completed my senior 4. They didn't have a registration number for UNEB, so we did our exam from Chamate Secondary School. Then from there, he came to Kampala. There was a school called Desta Secondary School. After senior 5, the money was too much, so we had to shift. I shifted again to Ngano High School. It's where I finished my senior 6. And then afterwards, I joined the Makerere Law School, where I finished 4 years. Then I went to Road Development Center.
LDC. Yeah,
I got a diploma in legal practice. Then it's when afterwards, then I got a job with as a state attorney with the Director of Public Prosecutions. And then I enrolled for masters at Makerere Law School. So I got masters. Then during that time, it's when with some other colleagues, we started the Afiego. And Afiego, we started it specifically to promote clean energy.
Clean energy.
Yes, on how people can get clean energy that is affordable and reliable.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Our viewers, you've heard it. We have a farmer, a lawyer. Which name do we give people like you who are dealing in energy? Like if you're dealing in law, you become a lawyer. If you're in media, they can say you're a journalist, you're a communicator. So someone who's dealing in energy, do they have a specific name that we give them? Because I want to attach it on your profile.
They don't have a specific name. I think I look at it as like any Ugandan who is working hard to ensure that you make a contribution. Okay. Because there is no one person who is going to make Uganda better. We all need to make contributions, and there will be different contributions. But when they are joined together, you actually make a society that you want.
Yeah, you're making a point. Uganda has many renewable energy resources that can be used for energy production, has been saying, and also for provision of energy services. I may not go into detail, you will go into detail about that, but I just want to ask you a question in line with achieving the kind of Uganda that we want in terms of energy usage. What can we do to untap and make use of our resources?
Of course,
specifically energy.
I know there are many Ugandans who may not understand what is energy. Because the energy is in different forms. You see, when you go outside here, you see these trees, you see water, you see all those can be actually turned into energy. Because the majority of Ugandans, me and you actually, we are not necessarily looking at electricity. We look at the firewood, we look at charcoal. So if charcoal can be done, you write charcoal and it is able to give you the energy to do your work of cooking, ironing, and doing what, that is energy. If you go and cut trees and maybe they are dry and they are able to give you fire and you do what your work, that is energy. So the energy is different things. Even the renewable energy we talk about, the assumption is that when you cut a tree, it can regenerate. So that means energy regenerating. But of course, there are many, many fundamentals that we've been looking at. If you, in 1986, maybe we had 15 million Ugandans. Now we have around 43, 45 million Ugandans. There is no way you are going to say that you'll be cutting a tree, because when you cut a tree, it doesn't grow in a week or in a month. It takes many months or many years to grow again.
Yeah.
So
my research shows that in the next 60 years to come, Uganda might be 300. You might be 300 Ugandans in terms of population. That is my research.
Yes. That's very true, because indeed the estimates are indicating by 2050. Will be around 100 million. So if we are going to reach 100 million people, it means the things that we cannot have control over, we need to be careful. So when you talk about the issue of renewable energy, and we are talking about clean renewable energy, we are not talking about just renewable energy.
Oh, we are looking at
what
clean.
they call clean renewable energy, that even if you were to use wood, can you first convert it into something clean, that it will not harm the people, but it will also not harm the environment. So those are the things. So for us as an organization, for example, we've been promoting clean, renewable energy. First and foremost, in Uganda here, 98% of our clean energy, which you call electricity, is from water. In other words, these big dams. The biggest challenge is that it is now very clear that even if we generate even 10,000 megawatts, because at the moment we have around 1,300 megawatts from the 4 or 5 dams that we have and other smaller dams. This power is still too expensive for majority of us, that even us in town, you don't use that power for cooking, you don't use that power for anything that is fundamental. Maybe you use it for
lighting.
Yeah, lighting, and maybe some
lighting, charging,
fridge, TV, those simple things, but you still struggle to ensure you don't consume a lot because you have no money to pay for it. So we've been saying, other than this power, which is, we've invested huge amounts of money. At the moment, they are building a dam of 600 megawatts called Karuma.
Karuma Dam.
Yes, of 600 megawatts. They have already so far completed a dam which is also struggling, which is collapsing, called the Simba Dam. At over 560 million US dollars. The Karuma is at 1.7 billion US dollars. In 2012, we commissioned the Bujagar Dam, which was around 1 billion US dollars with 250 megawatts. So in other words, we have invested huge amounts of money to generate electricity, to make people better, because electricity is very fundamental for people to improve their lives. But one of the biggest challenges is that electricity remains expensive.
So
and I may not go into the details.
What can we do about that? Because we are looking at achieving the Uganda we want, where a Ugandan is able to use, for example, this first type of energy we are talking about, electricity, at a favorable price. Yeah. How can we deal with that?
Of course, we've been engaging with government, because our work is actually to look at what are the obstacles that undermine our country, to ensure that these good services actually reach people when they are still affordable, when they are reliable. Because the reason why I'm saying that, we can have 1,300 megawatts from these big dams where we have invested billions of dollars, but the same electricity, people can't use it. There are many obstacles. First and foremost, corruption.
Corruption.
Yeah, because people may think that, you hear, so and so has been arrested for stealing money, so and so has been arrested for manipulating a contract. You have like this hospital which we spent.
International Specialized Hospital.
Where we have already, we are going to spend 390 million US dollars. And the hospital is not yet there, but we are paying the money. You have this Simba Dam, which they commissioned just in 2019. But within short time, the dam, they are saying it is collapsing. You have Karuma Dam, which was supposed to be commissioned in 2019, but they are saying now they will commission it in 2023. So who is responsible? Who is making decisions? So corruption is not actually about stealing money. But if, for example, you have that big project and you bring a company that has no competence, because maybe it has...
So we can term that as corruption as well.
That is the most dangerous corruption. Because it is the reason why you may actually find you can't bring the right equipment even in a hospital. So even the richest person who does not care about that corruption, you can go to that hospital thinking actually there is a machine, and that machine will kill you. So corruption is in different things. And in Uganda here, if we are saying the Uganda we want, we must first ensure we have the right leaders. And the right leaders must be compelled to do the right things. For example, we are talking about energy. Energy, there are different sources, as you said. You can have energy from small dams, and each dam, wherever it is built, you can decide to connect that area and use that power rather than putting it in long lines and the whole of it, some of it gets lost. Then it is hard to manage these long distribution lines, transmission lines. Then you can decide to have these big dams where you have to have huge power stations, transmit power to thousands of kilometers, and then they will tell you, because to build a dam is a process. You need a lot of money. To transmit that power to the area where people are supposed to consume it, it is a huge another process. To distribute that power, because once you take that power, for example, these big lines you see outside, they are from Bujagari. They are going to Kawanda. When they reach Kawanda, now you have to step it down to ensure that now it is smaller power that can go into households. To distribute power to these scattered households is another big process. So when you are determining which source of energy you should use, you will say, instead of spending 5 billion on building a dam and transmitting that power to people like us who don't have capacity to pay, to use a lot of power and pay for it, if we have another source like people have been talking about, solar energy, that in Africa here, in Uganda, we are on the equator. You can have solar, even a small panel will give you enough power that you need for lights, for charging phones, for even running TVs these days, for running fridges. So, assuming we decided to say, instead of going to have wires going to each and every household, for those households that are scattered in many places that don't need too much power, let's give each of them a solar panel.
For free?
We can subsidize,
okay.
But you see, if you are spending taxpayers' money to build a dam, and I want to remind you that this financial year, 2022-2023, the government of Uganda through Ministry of Energy has budgeted for 193 billion Uganda shillings. I don't know whether Ugandans know what is 193 billion Uganda shillings. If you decided to give it to put it in this room, I can assure you will not even get where to sit. So that money is meant to pay electricity companies because they are generating power which has no market. In other words, Ugandans have no capacity to control
The government is paying electricity
companies because they are generating power and they have a contract that once they generate, then the government must pay for that power.
And the government is using my money.
Yeah, whether it is
pay.
Yes, it is your taxes.
My taxes.
Government is you. Because if they say government, who is government?
And then when that power comes to me, I have as well to pay for it.
Yes.
Expensive.
In other words, you not consuming a lot of power because you are fearing bills. So you suppress your power needs. Because you may find you can't cook on electricity. Some people even can't iron. Some people even they have to switch off security lights and now sleep in darkness because they don't want to pay huge bills. But on the other side, you find even when you have not consumed that
still
power,
you're going to pay for
yes,
the generation of that power
because
and the transmission.
You're going to buy paraffin, you're going to buy salt, you're going to buy all the things you buy. You are paying taxes.
Taxes, yes.
And they get those taxes and they say you because you are not consuming enough electricity. And so there is excess power. So we have to take your taxes and go and pay for that power that is not consumed. So we've been saying, instead of investing those billions of money in electricity, in big dams, generate power, and yet Ugandans have no capacity, they are failing to consume it. If we use that money, use those taxes, either to subsidize, it is better not to give people for free things, but you can actually have like different ways of how people can get those solar panels. And you find each household has a solar panel, so it can have enough energy for them to run.
But I think this government is, I don't know, you let me know, I think it is able to give some for free, because if they are giving away the parish, money, the PDM money, the Myoga money, are people paying for that? But here you're talking about something that is basic. It's something that they need. So let's go back to the first obstacle. Just in case you talked about corruption, it's one of the obstacles that that is hindering what we are talking about. But I want to suppose you're in a position, you've been given a corrupt. What would you do to that person?
Of course, first and foremost, actually, like in terms of laws, I think we have put good laws in place.
But do they have life?
There, the leadership is the one that must ensure those laws are implemented.
So we have jumped over from corruption and the corrupt now to leadership.
Because you see, I've been hearing people saying, everyone is corrupt. That is wrong.
Are you corrupt?
Even in law.
Are you corrupt?
There are conditions that can force me to be corrupt. And I'm not going to pass a judgment whether I'm corrupt or not corrupt. But when you have a policeman who spends the entire day on the street, guiding traffic, sunshine, rain is on that person, and you give that person 300,000, 500,000 a month, he or she has children.
He has children. He has a family.
As a family, has to pay rent. If he has no house, he has to go to work every day, transport, has to buy food, has to pay school fees. So that person, I tell you, if he also sees you that you have no driving permit, you have no certain things that you are supposed to have, your car has no good tires, he's not going to say you use the money to buy tires. You will say, now you are in a wrong. What are you saying?
Hey, what are you saying?
Yes.
What are you saying?
Yes. So sometimes, of course, people say that even if that the people who get a lot of money are the ones actually who are more corrupt. That is true, because they have gotten that money through corruption. And normally when you have benefited from a practice, you don't stop it. But assuming that person who has at least accumulated some money decided to say, I have taken enough, I'm no longer going to take more. And instead, the what I have been taking is now going to be distributed to other people, so that people get the right salaries, they get the right services in education, in health, in water, in roads. And now you say, if you people now have these services, we are going to ensure whoever is caught doing wrong things, the police is well facilitated so it can investigate. The judiciary is well facilitated so it can determine, ensure that people get justice, or those who are supposed to get punishment, they get punishment in the right way. So now the leadership is the one that will finally determine that things are done well or badly. But the most important thing is that nowhere in this world you will find leaders on their own actually caring about the poor people, the people down there. Is that we've seen, whether in Europe, if you studied history, the reign of terror, revolutions in Europe, in America, is that people would reach a point and say, if my kid can't go to school, if I can't get the right roads to either I'm on border weather, I can't get the clean water. You have these guys, like parents selling their properties.
Their property, yes.
They take their kids to school. After finishing, they get degrees, diplomas. They can't get jobs. Now you see they are being taken to the Middle East and being misused and abused. When we reach that level, it means that people must come up as citizens. Because as a citizen, this is your country.
Are you sending us on the streets?
It is not about the street. Because I'm telling you, once the leaders detect that the people are tired And people can't continue taking these bad services.
We demonstrate.
Demonstration is even provided for under our constitution. Did you know that? That you have
But
a
we
right
have to
to
seek
demonstrate,
permission.
you have to, a right
But we
to
have to
express.
seek permission.
No, you see, that's the leadership we are talking about. When you allow a leader to be the one to treat you like as if you are a slave in the country, it's when you will say, if you want to demonstrate, you ask me permission. But you are demonstrating against the bad services by that person, and now we want to ask him or her
For
to
permission
allow
as well.
you to go in the street. That is not the way things are done. No. The fact that you have a constitutional right to demonstrate, to speak, to associate.
You don't need to ask for permission.
You don't need.
You just have to go.
You
on
don't
the
need.
street.
And unfortunately, it has happened that, when people are not happy and the leaders are not willing to correct those injustices, there will always be collision. But at the end of the day, you find it is your right to struggle to ensure you get the right services. And the Uganda that we want, we have to fight for it.
The Uganda that we want,
Yes.
we have to fight for it.
It is a struggle everywhere in the world. No one has ever gotten the right things, services. No one has ever guaranteed that people get the justice they need, the development they need, without a struggle. It is it is a painful reality, and what can we do?
So this leadership you're talking about, Mr. Kamugisha, that it seems you're painting a picture to me that the problem that we have, number one, is about the bad leadership that we have now.
Yes.
What can we do about that bad leadership?
We need to engage the leaders.
Will engaging
As
really
citizens,
help us?
because I have told you that me, since I finished school, I worked with government for a short time. Afterwards, I resigned. I said, I'm going to work for the common good. In other words, work with people.
Was it a willful, resignation?
Yes,
Or,
I voluntarily
or something
decided.
happened and you're like, no,
No.
let me drop this.
Of course, I saw I was going to be in the government. The government has directives. You have to follow the directives. There are fundamental things you have to follow. And I said, for me, if I'm going to see, because the state attorney, you are supposed to prosecute cases. In other words, Uganda will be against people who have stolen, killed, and what. Sometimes you see someone who has stolen a chicken because he's wants to sell it and take a kid to school. You want to sentence him or her to 10 months. Some people commit crimes because they are desperate, because they are frustrated. So sometimes you find when a border person who has been here on sunshine, in the rain, and has spent maybe a day without taking a passenger, is hungry. That person, even if he was not a bad person before, he can turn into a dangerous character. There are some minimum standards that as a country you must ensure your people get. In other words, minimum services. If they don't get, they are going to become bad people. So somehow I said, let me work with people. And the work that we do as an organization is to make sure if we see there are, for example, if we use the energy that we are talking about, there are different sources. If I go and tell people that, you people you demand from your leaders that instead of investing huge amounts of money in dams, in these transmission lines, and then you can't afford to use that power. And when power is brought to your home, is that you have to be paying bills every month. If there is this other energy source that does not require you to pay every month, maybe you spend once and you can have 2, 3, 4, 5 years using that energy, like solar power. You demand from your leaders that either they have to bring down the prices for those solar panels, they have to have a system where all the households get that energy that they can afford. For me, I think I have done my job. It is not my job to go and tell people that you go on the street, go and fight with anyone. No. I tell them you have a right to demand from your leaders.
Yeah, but
and
here's the
I also
problem.
engage with the leaders that please, you have to provide services to your people.
Here's the problem I see that, okay, the demand to a certain point has been there, but still nothing is being done. And we are looking at achieving the Uganda where, as you're saying, a Ugandan, gets or receives the service he or she is supposed to get, but it's not the case. The demand is there, nothing is being done. What can we do? That's where we are with you today.
No, you see, like I have also said, that
we continue demanding.
There are sacrifices that you must be willing and ready to take. When they say, for example, every after 5 years, you have to go, someone, whether it is the president, an MP, you must go for elections, you must go back to renew a contract. What are we doing to ensure that actually our votes count? Me and you, do we ensure that when you vote, you stay at the polling station and protect your vote?
Okay.
I've seen many Ugandans struggling to do that. Some have been killed. And we are not going to avoid being killed. Somehow, somewhere,
you've got to struggle.
You have to struggle. Because I tell you, for example, you take an example, President Museveni. He went to the bush in 1981. And he said, because they had cheated elections. Not his elections, actually. Because they tell us it was DP, which was cheated. But he said, this is my country. Anyone who does things that violate the laws of this country, I will do whatever it takes. You think he went to the bush, he was sure he would come back here? I don't think he was sure that he would come back here.
So he had that vision that
he had that vision, and I believe he thought that even if he was to die, the fact that he had started something, the fact that he had inspired many of his colleagues that actually this is wrong, we have to fight it and ensure we get the right country that we want, where every leader, where everyone respects the laws of the country, where when people go to vote, their votes must be respected. In other words, they must be counted, and the results must be announced the way they are. That tells you that it is not easy. So when you hear that actually people have been demanding and maybe they have not achieved, it means the demand is not yet up to that level where it is effective.
Yeah, I normally don't want to discuss people, but for this case, just let me break that rule or that principle for now. We've talked about President Museveni going through the bush to fight, to struggle, to make sure that the thing that happened in 1980 are actually rectified. But he's the one in head of the leadership that is bad, that is poor, that is weak, that we are talking about. What can he do to his leadership to become better?
First and foremost, what did he do? When he saw that things were wrong, he took the initiative to ensure that they are corrected. If he took over and he has also failed to do what he wanted, the things that he wanted to do, he's human. Because I'm telling you, it is possible that for me, I can be telling you that ABCD is bad. If today you made me a minister for energy, you may find that actually the things that I'm trying to say they are bad, I actually preside over them and actually continue implementing them. But people who receive those services that I'm presiding over, I tell you, they are the ones who have an obligation. In other words, the fact that all of us are human, we have our fundamental weaknesses. And as they say, every human being has his or her moment of weakness. It is the other person who is suffering that injustice, who must come up, who must wake up, who must struggle to ensure things are well. I believe that, it is our obligation as citizens to continue telling even the president that things are not good and they must stop. And certain things must be done. I don't think if we were saying actually, President Museveni, this government official is corrupt, and we are, say, 100,000 people on the street saying, no, this minister must resign because he has, for example, failed to ensure that we have good companies that are building dams. The Minister for Energy has failed, for example, to ensure people get affordable tariffs. So, I'm telling you, the president will actually realize that certain things are not good.
Okay.
And he can
such an action be done even on the president himself?
I believe when I say a leader, because the reason why you see even the president can subject himself to votes every after 5 years, it means he knows that it is the citizens who have the power to ensure that their country is run in a certain way. Okay. He can manipulate the process, but the fact that he knows that citizens are the owners of the country, it means a lot. It is, in other words, if citizens said, because if we are 45 million Ugandans, are you saying if we all said, we can't accept this, what can even the president and anyone do in a country?
Let's stop here for today. You've heard it from the executive director for Africa Institute for Energy Governance, Afiego, Mr. Dickens Kamugisha. In line with what he has said, how are you going to respond to ensure that we achieve and you achieve the kind of Uganda that you want? My name is Mlanzi.